What if events went differently, and the person breaking into Kevin McCallister's house wasn't Harry or Marv, but a Terminator, sent from the future to eliminate him? Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse. My name is Max Charlebois, aka MissedThePart, and this terrifying, pulse-pounding crossover comes straight from the live stream vaults. Shout out to Paul Buin for this deadly and hilarious crossover that turns Home Alone into Judgment Day. In this dark timeline, Skynet identifies young Kevin as a future threat to its rise. A hacker, prodigy with the potential to shut it down. The Terminator arrives in 1990 Suburba, and Kevin must use every ounce of creativity and chaos in his personal arsenal to survive. No paint cans, no tarantulas. This time, the traps are lethal. If you love mixing tones like this comedy, horror, and sci-fi what if, you need to be in our streams, my fellow watchers. That's right, your ideas could become the next timeline that we explore. But that being said, let's dive into the brand new What If episode. And location, rural Illinois town. Christmas Eve, 11:47 p.m. Snow fell in ghostly drifts across the town, lost to the hush of winter. Maple Lane lay quiet beneath layers of frost, its modest homes dimmed for the night, their chimneys releasing faint trails of smoke. Icicles, crystalline and dagger-like, clung to rooftops with the patience of death, and the scent of pine, a comforting relic of the season, floated quietly in the air. In the last house on the lane, warm golden lights flickered against frost-kissed windows, illuminating a room cot. Between memory and morning, Kevin McCallister, 17 and wiry from months of isolation, stood in the living room. Shadows danced across his face, hardened now from time and solitude. He looked older than he should. The cheerful ornaments that once filled the room with laughter now glinted like relics from another life. The tree still stood, pine needles clinging to brittle branches, but the joy was gone. Only silence remained, thick, waiting, unnatural. Then the wind changed. A low hum carried through the air, unsettling the icicles and whispering through the seams of the house like a mechanical breath. The streetlights flickered, as though something unseen exhaled. Interference. Kevin stiffened. This wasn't a power outage, it was a ripple. Deliberate, foreign. He stepped toward the window, breath fogging the glass, eyes narrowing as he scanned the snow-drenched street. The silence broke, a crunch, metal on snow. Not boots, not tires. Something heavier, measured, deliberate. He saw the first glint of movement as a sleek silver figure emerged from a plume of smoke. Wreckage flared behind it, a drone, shattered and burning, casting orange flames across the chrome skull that now surveyed the neighborhood. Its red optic eyes pulsed like coals, scanning. This wasn't the Wet Bandits. This was something ancient and futuristic all at once. This was something sent not to steal but to erase. Kevin didn't flinch. Instinct took over. He moved quickly, silently, through the room, his hand reaching behind the couch. Duct tape, a tangle of Christmas lights, a service wrench. To most, these were scraps. To him, they were weapons. Every trap he'd ever made, every clever improvisation had been forged in fear. But this fear was different. This was survival, and it had no margin for error. What Kevin McCallister would never know was that in the future, his wit inspired a resistance that stood against Skynet. Now the Terminator was sent to the past to eliminate that threat once and for all, it was sent to eliminate Kevin. Location: McCallister family home. Downstairs hallway. The front door exploded inward. Splinters flew like shrapnel as a steel arm punched through the wooden frame. Kevin didn't. Wait. He hurled himself down the hallway, heart pounding in his throat. Behind him, metal tore. Through drywall, boots crushing remnants of holiday cheer. He triggered the first line of defense, a tripwire he'd threaded through the coat hooks and a repurposed closet rod. It cracked. Forward, slamming into the Terminator's torso with enough force to stagger. Sparks burst from its chest. Not enough to halt it, only slow it. Kevin ducked around the corner, breath coming hard, pain stabbing at his ribs. His right leg ached from a collision days earlier, an accident while testing a sled jump rig in the woods. He ignored it. In the kitchen, he flew into motion. Cabinets slammed open as he pulled out a canister of kitchen cleaner, one of the few remaining flammable models in his stash. He tore an extension cord from the microwave and dragged it across the floor in a tight loop. The cleaner spread in a wide arc, slick and dangerous. Then he stepped back, took a match from his back pocket and struck it against the brick backsplash. The moment the Terminator entered the doorway, he flicked the match across the floor. Flames raced outward, a curtain of fire roaring upward in seconds. Light flooded the room and illuminating the machine's steel frame as it recoiled slightly, its synthetic skin blistering in. Patches, one optic lens briefly dimming. Then it stepped through. Kevin's eyes widened as the machine crushed the cord underfoot, sending sparks into the fire. Steam hissed as the flames were abruptly drowned. The Terminator advanced, smoke wreathing its form-like armor. Kevin turned and bolted up the stairs, his injured leg burning with each step. He had slowed it, but it was learning. Adapting. Every trap would lose impact. Time was thinning. Location: church bell tower, midnight. He didn't stop running until the house disappeared behind him. The snow deepened, turning roads into uncertain paths. The church stood as a sentinel at the edge of town, its windows shattered, its bell long silenced. Kevin gritted his teeth as he pushed through the heavy wooden doors. They shrieked open, echoing through the abandoned nave. Inside, pews lay overturned, their lacquer peeled by decades of neglect. Graffiti crawled along the walls, angry scrawls from kids who'd long forgotten this was a place of sanctuary. Moonlight, pale and judgmental, filtered through the broken stained glass, bathing the space in prismatic shards. Kevin moved toward the staircase. The spiral steps creaked as he ascended, breath shallow each, motion deliberate. His arms trembled with fatigue, but his mind burned with focus. The bell tower offered height, a choke point, a momentary advantage. He reached the top and began working. From his backpack, he retrieved a wire, rope, pulleys, scavenged from old bikes. He threaded a line through the bell's rusted supports, tying the mechanism to a spring coil rigged with tension pins. The bell hung above, its weight enormous. If released, it would fall directly into the center of the room. Then he installed the second layer, a power drill wired to a release mechanism, its motor, serving as both a timer and a trigger. He had rehearsed dozens of these setups in theoretical, designs scrawled across notebooks. None had faced a target like this. Below, the creak of wood announced the Terminator's arrival. Its red eyes shone through the stairwell shadow as it climbed, hand gripping the stone wall, boots striking hard against the iron steps. Kevin took position behind the bell, muscles coiled. The Terminator emerged. He yanked the line. The coil released. The ancient bell broke free. It dropped. Beams shattered as the metal bell fell like divine judgment, crashing into the Terminator's back, with a sound that rang across the frozen town. The creature dropped to one knee. Sparks burst from its spine. Plates fractured. Still, it rose. One optic lens flickered. Kevin saw it. It was damaged, but not dead. He didn't wait to celebrate. He fled again. Location: McCallister home. Basement workshop, 2:15 a.m. The basement was freezing. The air smelled of rust and old oil. Shadows moved where the furnace used to hum. Kevin closed the door behind him and locked it, though he knew it wouldn't matter. He limped across the room, knelt beside his late uncle's tool bench, and began to work. Time blurred. Only motion mattered. He soldered wire to copper tubing, stripped insulation from a power cord, and fused components with trembling fingers. The car battery whined as he connected it to a salvaged microwave transformer. He calibrated a frequency pulse using circuit boards from an old gaming console, rigging it to emit a disruptive signal. An improvised EMP, short range, one use, unstable. But it was hope. He tested the timer once. It whirred softly. Then came the sound he dreaded, floorboards cracking above. The Terminator was inside again, closer. He grabbed the device and ascended, slow but steady, heart thundering with every step. On the second floor, the wind had blown the window open. Curtains flapped like wings. The Terminator breached the hallway, turning toward the loft. Kevin dropped to one knee behind the railing, aimed the device downward, and activated the timer. A low hum filled the air. The machine twitched once, then spasmed. Its body convulsed as systems overloaded. Sparks burst from its joints. The red eyes dimmed. Then it collapsed. Kevin rushed forward, muscles aching, and heaved the device onto its back. The metal sizzled beneath the charge. The Terminator twitched once more, then fell still. It was not enough, he knew it. Power would return. Systems would reboot. He needed finality. Something that didn't require electricity. He needed gravity. Location: woods behind house. Pre-dawn. The forest behind the McCallister house was silent, beneath the weight of snow. Trees stood like sentinels, branches drooping under frozen burden. A single red sled lay beside the fence, a remnant of happier days, now dusted with frost. Kevin dragged the lifeless body of the machine across the yard. His gloves tore, his palms blistered. Every muscle in his body screamed, yet he didn't stop. Inch by inch, he pulled the chrome corpse to the edge of the woods. There, half concealed by ice and branches, lay a pit. Dug last winter for a prank he never used, back when pranks were just games, not warfare. It was deep, just enough. As he adjusted the ropes around the Terminator, the machine stirred. Its eyes flashed red. Kevin dove behind a log. The machine rose, unsteady, systems still damaged but functional. Its metal body jerked forward, steam trailing from its back. He looked at the pulley, one last trap. A thick oak branch suspended overhead by a cleat, and counterweight, aimed directly at the pit's edge. The Terminator stepped forward. Kevin pulled. The cleat was released. The log dropped. With a sound like thunder, the oak limb slammed into the Terminator's chest, caving its structure inward. The force hurled the machine into the pit. It crashed into the earth, metal shrieking against stone. Snow and timber fell atop it. It struggled once, fingers twitching. Then silence. Kevin collapsed to his knees, breath ragged, heart thudding like a war drum. He stared at the pit, waiting for movement. There was none. The machine was buried. For now. Location, McCallister home. Dawn. The sky turned gray as morning crept over the horizon. The snow fell softly again, peaceful and slow. Kevin stumbled back to the front porch, boots soaked through coat-torn blood drying along his arm. He reached the steps and sat, breath curling in the air, eyes staring into the woods. Behind him, the buried machine remained entombed. The door opened, light spilled out. Familiar arms wrapped around him. His parents returned, early, frantic with fear and confusion. They didn't ask questions. He didn't give answers. The truth would sound like madness. He was alive. He stood, barely, and entered the house. The scent of cinnamon drifted from the kitchen. The lights flickered peacefully on the tree. The world had returned to normal, but Kevin had not. He looked once more through the window toward the pit. Snow fell gently over the woods, erasing footprints. A red sled rested beneath a tree, untouched. Kevin understood now. Ingenuity had saved him. Not strength, not weapons, but mind, memory, and will. And somewhere beyond this world, something would remember that a 17-year-old boy once defeated a machine sent to end him, not with violence, but with brilliance. And that is going to be it for What If the Terminator Hunted Kevin McCallister. This is requested by Paul Buin. Big community shout out to Paul for requesting this insane Terminator and Home Alone crossover video. It was a video that I wanted to do for some time now. Surprisingly, I think it would be absolutely crazy if the Terminator ended up going back in time and hunting Kevin McCallister. Now, what do you think would happen in this alternate timeline? Do you think like Harry and Marv would have survived, or what do you think would have happened? But that being said, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. I do want to give a massive shout out to our YouTube community members as well as the Patreon members. So again, massive shout out to you guys for keeping this channel thriving and keeping this channel alive. That being said, I will see you in the next episode. Take care and have a wonderful day. Peace out.